Hello there, Bravehearts, Urbanites, and Coach Mad Hatters, and welcome to our General Assembly HangSuite for October 3rd at 3:33 p.m. That's the gateway portal. That's the gateway portal. Um, as promised, we have returned to go over the full coach preparation form that was drafted by CTI, copyright 2011. Yes, it is an older piece, but it actually captures all of the pertinent questions that one can ask itself when preparing to coach or be coached. Quick reminder, Coach Mad Hatters toggle between student and teacher, which also means coach and coachee. Is that a word? Is that coach and athlete? Coach and intellectual creativity athlete. So we're going to snuggle in this afternoon and see if um, we can unpack this a little bit. But before I get started, I would like to share with you my book, Brine, for October 2019, all in light of the fantastical world. Also, to give honorarium to our story by Coach quotas. So the first book is called The Invisible Library by Genevieve Cogman. The Burning Book, The Burning Page, specifically, which I want to say is story 2 inside of the Invisible Library collection, but don't hold me on that. I'm not sure. The second book is The Alchemist, Secrets of the Immortal Nicholas Flamel, Book 1 by Michael Scott. An alchemist is spelled Alchemyst. The Alchemist. Book 3 is The Tales of Beetle the Bard, the original, the original works from the Hogwarts Library Collection. Book 4, Enchantress by James Maxwell. Book 5, The Iron Druid Chronicles. Hounded, which is the first book in the series by Kevin Hearn. And book number 6 is The Dresden Files by Jim Butcher, Book 1. And I neglected to write down the title of Book 1 inside this particular series. Interesting. But between these 6 selections, if in fact you are interested in understanding certain languages within the mystical, alchemical, astro-alchemical, like the magical world of language and story, these 6 titles served as my freshman year of mystical, magical language. Inside these stories was not only an entirely new world, but an entirely new world of words and language and comprehension, vocabulary that I stayed preoccupied researching for months. And so that's why I contribute it to be in my freshman year. Uh, in metaphor, let me say that. Inside the world of metaphora, these stories opened up a brand new world to me in how I perceive things. And the main thing that I continued to think about as I was being intrigued by these stories, the magic within these stories, the capabilities of the characters within this story, truly from the basis of either sacred alchemy, mystical decoding. Like it was all the stories, all of them, all of the stories had the fundamental hue of being inside of a world inside of a world, or a hidden world inside of regular society. Like only those that have eyes to see will see type of stuff like that. Like the worlds that run the realms that run parallel to the busy mundane. Um, and so yeah, I'm a firm believer that within story, not only will one find themselves, but one will be encouraged, inspired to invest in that which is considered the invisible, to begin paying attention, perking up, piquing the curiosity of the parallel realms that truly can be tapped into. They can be tapped into. They are rhythmically connected to our realm. Pay attention to it. The signs and symbols are not around for nothing. And one of my most primary examples will be coming up in a few weeks. The day that most of the mundane world will consider Halloween. Um, but so many other cultures call it so many other things, and it means so many other things than what is traditionally told inside the mainstreams of the strata. As one of the most elite days when portals of parallel dimensions are at their most peak. um, I'm still a novice in the language, but my curiosity is on fleet with regards to what it means, what it truly means to those that study within that language. But I will say this, what I am finding out, to be spooked by it is just an indication that it has yet to be understood. We are still in the midst of habit number 5. We're still in the midst of habit number 5. Seek to understand, then be understood. So, with that still in mind and driving the forefront, we will continue. Okay, stand by. Okay, we're back. So, when we start preparing for a coaching session or to be coached, to coach or be coached, um, especially as I was uh, getting into when you are serving as your own coach. It's a very unconventional practice. It was put into my mind 2014 undergoing my certification through the Institute of Social and Emotional Intelligence. And the invitation to approach our assignment as if we were our own coach stuck with me. And it stayed with me to the point where I began approaching every um, task that I had with regards to studying, and even more so studying myself on behalf of myself, tapping into my Tibet nose to know thyself, digging and honing into what that really means, like what that really honestly means to know thyself, because it goes deeper than just my favorite color is green and I like jazz and go-go, or I like to do field trips to the museums. It's a little bit deeper than just preference. As I've said oftentimes before, a lot of it plays into the knowledge of one's natal details, one's birth chart, the details surrounding anchoring, infusing, um, the planetary arrangements at the time of one's birth, as well as the archetypal characteristics around said planets at the time of one's birth. Death too, actually, because we die over and over and over again. Just seeing how that came out. Um, Especially now that I am actively in the midst of a phoenix rising moment. Oh, I got to, ooh, I had to sneeze. Mm, incredible. um, in the midst of dealing with moments where it feels like my fucking ass is like just burning to all of that which I knew as routine. I probably have maybe about 10% predictability in my life these days. And I'm being drawn into the force of newness and being initiated with what it is that I shall do with it. Um, and I honestly believe, and I have to say, with the help of my set of tarot teachers, tarot treasure trove teachers, um, all hosted on YouTube. I always say YouTube is the new university. It really is. Um, Trying to think, do I have their list somewhere around here? The list of all my. I don't think I have it down here with me. Of my treasure trove teachers. Let's see if I can. Let's see if I can do it off the top of. Oh wait, I might. 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 My treasure trove teachers. So, oh wait a minute, yeah. Unconditional Healing Tarot, Queen Cup Tarot, Water Baby Tarot, Sarah Verba Tarot, Divinely Feminine Tarot, House of Oshun Tarot, and Rambling Minds Tarot. Those are my tribe of tarot treasure trove teachers. And it's amazing because now that I have secured them as my tribe, stay tuned. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Okay, we're back. Establishing them as my teaching tribe has offered me a unique lens into tarot. And most often, I don't show up for the reading itself. I mean, sometimes I do. Sometimes I am front line and center because I either want to specifically hear what's going on with Capricorn or Virgo. Um, I will tap into the other uh, readings, all depending on what's going on with me inside my chart, um, and where certain things are hosted. Um, like now it's Libra season. So, um, wherever I have Libra within my chart, I may get the urge to tap into a Libra reading, all depending. Um, but, but specifically, it's usually for my Capricorn sun, my Virgo moon, my Virgo ascending. That is what I tap into for if I'm going to be sitting in front of them for that type of information. But most often it's to continue to hear the language. I show up as if it's homeroom. And most often I'm writing stuff down. I'm taking a note or I am listening to the commentary. Um, because it's not just a reading. It's not full of spookism, and it has very little to do with ooh. It's that's not what it's about. With these readings come commentary from those who have studied it. Those that I've just mentioned, they are very authentically transparent with how they interpret the cards. And they're versed in different sets of decks, be it tarot or oracle or um, crystals, or so it's a different flavor, or animal totems. Like it's a different flavor of commentary that comes across, all depending on what deck they're using, as well as the sign. Um, Many of them specifically speak to the sign when they are given the reading um, that makes way for archetypal. Stand by, folks. It is a busy day. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. um, they give themselves. They give um, the interpretations that lend a more truer explanation to not only why the cards may be showing up, but also as it's in tuned with the zodiac archetype that they are addressing. And I've gotten to the point where I'm somewhat now overprotective of the shade that they will receive. Now, I will say most often their followings are pretty good. Like only one or two knuckleheads. Like for the most part, folks show up as well in a more authentic uh, manner to receive the information that's being bestowed, um, because it takes quite a bit of work. It even takes quite a bit of work for me to get up here and do this. And I'm not even necessarily, or at least I'm not aware I am tapping into any particular energy at any given time. So I can just imagine, and especially those that are really consistent. As a matter of fact, all that I name are really consistent. They're rhythmically consistent with their content. Yes, they are. They're rhythmically consistent. And quite often than not, unless it's just my season, where the Capricorn energy is showing up and it is like it wants to talk, it wants to relay messages to me because it knows that I am waiting to hear from it. It almost seems like sometimes, almost most times, that Saturn or Mercury shows up to be like, okay, so guess what? TC's going to be showing up. So I'm going to need you to tell her this. And because they are authentically tapped in, message comes through. There have been times when I've sat, and these are general readings. I think my mind will be blown away if I sat before them for an actual reading, which is part of my bucket list. It's part of my 2020 bucket list, to have all of my teachers, my tribe, yeah, specifically make way for me. But as I was saying, there have been times, even within general readings, in tears, like, wow, like that showed up for me, huh? Need to pay attention to that. Need to pull back on that. Need to dig a little deeper into that. Need to let go of that. Need to hone in on that. Yeah. So it's been a great deal. Now that's part of my self-coaching preparations. Um, as I've said, they are my teachers. So I sit before them as a student so that I may begin to understand the language. They say, how do you become fluent in the language? Sit before those that speak it fluently. So that is more like 85% of why I tap in on the frequency that I do, because it's nice to hear um, the same topic spoken in different ways. Um, and so, yeah, um, it was, well, I will say now I'm at senior level. Like I am, and I think I might have mentioned this before in a couple of other video recordings, installations. I be trying not to call them all videos, but I guess at the end of the day, that's what they are, huh? That I've said a couple of times that I feel like I am at the graduation threshold. I am at the brink of my 10,000 hours. And so learning this language, learning the language of inner healing, learning the language of tarot, learning the language of um, mystical storytelling, all so that I may coach thyself, has been a miraculous feat. And even though I've only named my tarot teachers, I have, which I think I'm going to draw a list up as well, so that just I can pay homage and give shout out to those of my astrology realm. Uh, there are some astrologers right off the cuff, Sister Myra Moss, um, whom study this in intricate detail. so that others may understand themselves better. Stormy Grace, Sabrina Monarch, uh, the Astro Twins, the Saturn Sisters. Those are the ones that are popping up right off the top of the dome. Um, so yeah, they too have been gracious with the sharing of their discoveries and their original content so that others may understand themselves better, so that they may become enlightened with new and familiar uh, inner academics. So let's get to it, shall we? Preparing for the coaching session will allow you to optimize your results and our time. Before the session, you may wish to answer the following questions. How am I today, right now? How has my week been? What do I want to get out of today's session? What action did I take since our last session? What were my wins and challenges? What do I have to report? What do I want to be held accountable for? What issues do I want to deepen during our session today? What are my immediate challenges, concerns, achievements, or areas of learning that could be addressed? About my life and career, what am I most proud of? What has been my biggest disappointment? How would I describe my satisfaction with my life direction so far? What words describe how I feel about my career? What is the compliment or acknowledgement I hear most about myself? Now, what I will say real quickly is that when I am in the midst of an official self coaching session, those questions that I just rolled off, which you may pause and write down, it took a while for me to um, become used to being my own coach and being dedicated to the time in solitude so that certain feedback could begin to chime in. Because it had taken me a good while for it to become like an active, engaging communication, um, I had to begin a journal for my keynotes. And I call it my Intro to the Second Power Personal Developing Journal Daily Keynotes. Wishful thinking, emotional balancing. Does it say sentiment? Yeah, sentimental contemplations. So just about everything goes in there. It does, it does. And just so you can like see the seriousness of what I mean, that's the. And also, let me just say, like, I usually like to keep a section in the beginning of it blank just to catch. immediate stuff. But like my diary commentary, yeah. Okay, so that, well, actually, this is a relatively new one. Yeah, I started this one August, so this is a relatively new one. Those of yesteryear, they are packed from front to back, but still. So when was the last time that I made entry? Uh, October 1st. Now, I don't write in the journal every day, but when I am addressing these questions, the answers go in here. And so, and it's easy for me to keep track of. And I really do just however it spills out. So it's almost as if when the answers come in, I write them down as if I'm taking a message or taking a memo from a coach. And these are the responses and how it bubbles up and what it has to say to me. So like even like me asking the question about intellectual property within the Washington D.C. area, there are tons of intellectual property IP attorneys, and it became overwhelming. So it was like, okay, so as this continues to move on, how will I, proceed with this protected? Because as much as we would like to think, and even with me getting here and posting certain things in the public domain, it's like, okay, like you can't really like go in because for one, you have no idea who you are speaking to. You have no idea who will be watching these. You're not speaking to everyone. Um, but as we get the show on the road, um, there will need to be some things in place, yes? And so even something as interesting as me posing the question, how shall I move with this? What do I need to do? All the way down to like the strategy with my homestead and getting other elements within my mind, body, and soul ready and prepared to um, take on um, the homestead as a place where family may live and work. It's not an easy strategy to have to work out. And so, yeah, certain things poured out and revealed themselves. There are some love letters in here. Um, so, yeah, just all kinds of stuff regarding um, the answering of those questions that I just rolled off as if I am my own coach. And so I'll read the last portions of it, which is all regarding dream weaving and what it is that you want to do and be when you grow up. What dream of mine is still unfulfilled? What words describe me at my best? What words describe me when I am at my least best? What activities have meaning and heart for me? How can I begin to imagine a wish fulfilled? What's the one thing that I can begin changing now? What will make this coaching relationship rewarding for me? What a, what approaches encourages and motivates me? What approaches discourage and demotivate me? How will I know when I am receiving the value of this coaching relationship? What else is it that I would like to know about myself? That last question was hard for me because I'm like, what else would I like to know about myself? And it did not start unfolding until I began to tap into the details of my birth chart. And then that's when yeah, the avalanche. I learned so much about myself, serving as the coach to myself. And it gave me such an incredible leverage because approaching it as the coach and knowing that I am the only one that knows me better than anyone else because I've been with me every moment, every second, every hour of every situation since I've been here. Even my research and development as my own coach is of a very unique experience. And I would not be able to explain it from this angle had I not really sat through me suffering and treading the wild unknown, like sitting with me while I was in my most deepest, darkest sets of valley mode. Understanding, truly, truly understanding what shadow work is all about when you serve as your own coach. Because sometimes I wonder, especially when my birth chart is involved. And as I've mentioned before, there's only a handful whom I've forwarded my birth chart and have asked them to help me interpret it. And I wonder, how much of it that they know that they hesitate to reveal to me or have contemplated it after the session and just we haven't tapped back in or circled back to each other to say, for me to hear them say, I was pondering and I have a little bit more information regarding this, that, and the third about where you are now, where you've been, where you're going in conjunction to your natal placements. There was a position. I applied for a position about a week or two ago, at a metaphysical shop, and they asked for my precise coordinates. And of course, it's the first mystical. Oh, excuse me. It's the first mystical position I've ever applied for. So of course, it's the first time someone has ever asked for the details that would give them the the insider, the insider's view. Yeah. And I wondered because, of course, if they are asking for this type of information, and trust me, I know that they have a host of metaphysical, occult, mystic teachers within their tribe. So it's like, I wonder. And I didn't give all because it just struck me kind of odd, first off, because it's like, okay, but I'm going to tell you what I said. So my response, I told them Capricorn, Sun, Virgo Moon, Virgo Ascending. And then I also put in parentheses, but I am more than willing to give you the specific details if you promise to share all that you find. Good, bad, or indifferent. I also said that. Now, of course, I have not heard back from them. But I still wonder because it's just like those who are unassuming or those that are not very clear on the details that they would be offering up about themselves. Because remember, knowledge is power. So it's almost as if we enter into the portal with where you are asked to give your MBTI um, indicator code. Like Myers Briggs has been the infamous uh, great debate within the human resources realm. Some folks use it, some folks don't. Some folks love it, some folks hate it. I actually am within the meridian. Like, I know that there are bits and pieces about my type, or should I say, the archetypal Rubicon that surrounds my type that doesn't necessarily apply to me. But someone who doesn't know me and would be asking me for that code would probably, unless they already know that it varies from person to person, like you still have the ownership of your uniqueness. Unless they truly understand that, could run the risk of assuming that you are 100% INTJ. They could assume that. And what's amazing for me, serving as my own coach, every 6 months, I undergo an MBTI express assessment. Like, I don't go and pay for the whole in depth, but incrementally, I went from an INTJ to an INFJ. Now I'm an INFP. Now I'm an INFP. INFP dash T. Yes, I was wondering because, yeah, some things have. Hold tight, everybody. Hold tight. Hold tight. And so now, um, I am now um, inside the. Mm, sorry, I have ice in my mouth. Mm. I'm now inside the. Mm, I am now inside the space of J.R.R. Tolkien. And it's interesting when I read that because for a long time, being a fan of The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings, there's this one passage that always struck me as identifying. And it goes, all that is gold does not glitter. Not all those who wander are lost. The old that is strong does not wither. Deep roots are not reached by the frost. And this was before I began studying the language of MBTI. And before I started researching and developing J.R.R. Tolkien's work as curriculum, way before I began connecting dots uh, to have story serve as a coach or as a coaching tool technique. And when it all hit, I do not think I would have the quality of ahas if I was not serving as my own coach. And these practices won't be for everyone, but it damn sure would be good if everyone at least contemplated the notion or gave it some serious thought to begin researching and developing as a coach for oneself. I know for a fact it would enrich one's encounters to know thyself. That's for damn sure. So, yeah. What else would I like to know about me? Yeah. So there you have it, folks. Um, that is our in-depth step into the coaching preparation segment. Um, I invite you to take some serious time. Sit in quietude. Establish your journal. Establish your journal. Establish your journal, and take the time to write down the questions. Write it in the beginning of the journal, so that you'll always have them handy. And it'll get you into the practice of asking yourself certain key questions that I'm almost sure when the answers begin to reveal themselves to you, it's going to provide you with a different trajectory, especially with how you see yourself. This is truly, truly good um, to have those with vacant or very low esteem jog the synergy with provoking certain awarenesses about themselves that have no other choice but to you're going to level up that perception about yourself. It's going to give forth a certain kind of power that's going to help dispel the I ain't shit, I ain't good enough, those types of those types of heavy weighty those heavy weights. And then the I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. Yeah, that's going to start to as well. So, yeah, I hope that this has been um, enlightening. And quick reminder, just so we can remember where we at and what we're doing, right? And we are truly to remain in the middle, inside the meridian, between our sensations and our intuitions, as well as our thoughts and our feelings. And anyone who is courageous enough to indulge indulge with you inside conversations that allow you to unpack this, allow you to reconcile this, yeah, they're part of the comfy sofa crew. They are the ones that truly matter. Those that will allow you to talk while they listen. And I'll tell you something even better. Those that will allow you to talk while they take notes so that they may hand you off the notes so that you can have a better coaching session with self. That's called a questmate. Those are the ones that we are seeking to be around, to indulge our creative energies with. Because this is the code here. We're unlocking this here. There's a combination. There's a unique combination to each of us when we tap into and take inventory of the things that we need as sensations and the solitude inside of the intuition as we toggle in between our feelings and our thoughts. We're unlocking mysteries here. Preparing to coach thyself is a whole new leveling up. A whole new leveling up. Some folks not ready, but if you are in fact ready, this is the view. This is the PowerPoint. That's the view. Well, all right, folks. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for joining me. We now currently have a call for urban journalists and playwrights. If you're interested, get a hold of us so we can talk about it, give you the details. There's going to be some major stuff going down in 2020. And even though we'll never be able to know exactly what the outcomes are going to be for certain things, as we travel this thing called the wild unknown, yes, honey. So take note if you are interested, if you think you may be interested, get in contact with us so we can see where this thing goes, right? Especially if you're within the Washington, D.C. metro area. Atlanta metro, too, within the Atlanta metro area. So thanks again, my loves. I do wish you well.